some very good advice on asking the right questions from Tom O'Neill. Tom O'Neill, of course, from cv.co.nz. Tom, kia ora, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Morena, my dear friend, great to be on the show. Thank you.
Now, in terms of questions, I know that, look, if you've got a job interview the next day, you can stay up all night worrying about what awful questions they're going to ask you and seeing if you can think up the perfect answer, knowing that most of the questions that you think they're going to ask you, they won't ask, and the ones that they do ask are the ones that you haven't thought of. I mean, that's a great way to lose sleep and look terrible and be ill-prepared for your interview. But something which you should reserve a little bit of time for is what questions you're going to ask, because, I mean, that's part of the interview process, right?
Oh, look, 100%. It's interesting from an HR perspective. We have that, I'm going to ask you all these questions, blah, blah, blah. And then we have a period, normally near the end of the interview, where we say, so, Andrew, what questions have you got for us? Now, it's a wonderful time for you to actually sell yourself.
Yeah.
That seems a bit weird. Now you're actually getting information from me, but, depending on the type of questions you ask, it can actually put you in a really, really good place, showing proactivity, showing learning and development, focus, all these sort of things.
Especially, I suppose, in the current job market, although perhaps the heat coming off it in more recent months. But it's also the situation that if you're having a job interview, they want to employ somebody like you as well. So, yes, you're being interviewed as to whether or not you're the right candidate, but to an extent, you're also exploring the possibility as to whether or not this is going to be a great place to work.
Oh, look, 100%. And this is the weird thing. I'm going to probably spend more time with a whole bunch of strangers than I will with my wife over the next 3 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just the mechanics of people's careers and jobs. And so we want to be able to make sure we ask some good questions just to make certain that, the people I'm going to be spending more time with than the kids over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, potentially, are people I like. And actually, it's an organisation I respect and have values for.
It says a lot about a person, the sort of questions that they ask. It says a lot about their priorities and their initiative and their confidence and a whole bunch of different things that we can't even necessarily measure in other ways. But there's definitely good and bad questions to ask. There's that question says something positive about who you are. This is not such a good question. Give us some examples of what are great questions to ask, Tom.
Yeah, look, fantastic. So the first one you could say is, look, if I was successful in the role, what would be the main things you'd want me to achieve in the first 3 months?
Okay.
And because what that does is it just really says to an employer, hey, look, I'm really keen, excited, want the job effectively, but also gives a real focus on goals, development, wanting to, meet the needs of the employer, a real focus on being proactive. So something like that shows a really good understanding of someone who has those skills. Another one, read in your website. So obviously do your prep beforehand. Read in your website, your business does whatever it is, a service, but maybe it's not that clear. So, can you tell me a little bit more about this? So what that says to an employer is, look, you do your research, probably detail orientated, you're focused on wanting to get more info. So, particularly for roles like accountants and numerical based roles, it just really sends that sort of attention to detail approach. One thing you can ask is a question to a question. Ask the employer, and you've got to be really careful how you do this. You want to make sure you've got a nice rapport with the individual. But, what do you like most about working here, Andrew?
Oh, gosh, that's a great one. Turning the tables on the HR team and saying,
you got to be...
I mean, I can see why you'd need to be careful on this one. You got to get the balance right, confident but not too arrogant, right?
Yeah. So it's not what do you like most about working here? So, well, look, Raj, what do you like most about working here? If you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
just to get and that way you're going to get hopefully an honest take on, the good, the bad, and hopefully the good. And it's just a nice sort of way to show confidence, and also, again, get some really good questions. And then another great question is, does your business offer opportunities for personal growth and development, learning,
Yep.
those sort of things? Again, that shows a focus on developing your skills and getting better at what you do. So that's a great question as well. And around that, you can also say, what does typical progression look like for a person in your organization, in terms of sort of medium term, in terms of moving forward in their career.
Now,
And so all these things sort of give a nice sense that, you're an intelligent person who's got some good insight, and in effect you're reselling yourself,
yeah.
even by asking questions.
No, really good stuff indeed. And of course, the worst thing to say is, no, I don't have any questions. It just shows a total lack of initiative or disinterest. I mean, that's an easy decision for the HR person in that regard. What do you do though, Tom? If your questions, you had questions, you've written them all down, you spent a bit of time prepping, and you've got some key questions, but all of them have been answered during the process of the interview. I mean, these people. They do interviews professionally. They've done a few in their time. They know what sort of questions you're likely to ask. They may have preempted all of those. What do you do in that situation, Tom?
Yeah, look, great question. Uh, the you still want to give that sense that you've been prepared, and you've put your back into it effectively.
Yep.
So if that happens, you just say something like, "Well, thank you, Andrew. I got to say, all your questions have actually been all the questions I have been answered through this interview. So thank you very much." And in effect, that's a sort of backhanded compliment to them to say, thank you for being thorough and great job. So again, never say no. Never ever say, do you have any questions? No, because that's a massive turn off. I'm really excited. I think you're a great candidate. Really see you working here. And then if you hit me with really good questions, it just reinforces that. But if I just get no, that means you're just here for the money, really.
Exactly. And we'll get to the money in just a moment. But I mean, you don't want to be in that situation where, oh gosh, they've answered all of my questions. I'll just make up something on the spot, which just is a really dumb question. I mean, is it a situation where some questions are dumb questions? There's some things where you're saying, look, don't even bring that up. You look like an idiot. And again, it's an easy decision for the HR department.
Yeah. I suppose that it's just about doing your prep work. It really, really is about doing your prep work beforehand. There are dumb questions. I mean, they could just be things that are relevant, don't have anything to do with the job. And I'll notice this as an HR person. I've written the job description, I've given the job description to the candidate, and now they're asking weird things that obviously they've been on Google and you throw this in. It's like, but that's not part of the role. Like something around. So, what team leadership opportunities? How do I lead the team? Well, there is no team. Straight away, you're like, oh no, And what it does, it just really kills the vibe. Really. You've got this great feeling about this candidate. Things are cool. It's all going well. And then suddenly they just ask some questions that they aren't well thought out. And suddenly you're like, oh, really? Have they got the right beat on this?
Yeah. Now, the awkward question, but I think a relevant question, is to do with the finances. First interview. I mean, sometimes, as you say, in the job description, they will have put an indication of salary brackets or something like that. So you may have some idea going in. But first interview, do you ask about the money, or does that just give the wrong impression in your experience?
Yeah. Most of the time, most people, unfortunately, in New Zealand, most of the time, people don't know what the role's paying as they go in, which is really frustrating. And we can talk about that another time. But the thing with this is, when it can just be really frustrating, because when they come in and they're just not really understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
And when you talk about money straight away, it just gives the sense to me you're just not interested. You're only interested in the money, and everything else is secondary. So in that first interview, I implore you to stay away from the money question.
Yep.
Just to give that sense that I'm here for the job, I'm excited about the company, I'm excited about the industry. That's what you want to get across. And then at the second interview, that's when you hopefully it's brought up, right?
Yep.
So hopefully at some stage you're going to go, well, if it's paying
if they're going to
X,
make you an offer, then you need to know what the offer is. At some point, you're going to need to have that conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, you are doing it because hopefully you like the job, the company, the industry. But at the end of the day, you do it to get paid.
Yeah,
you know, simple as that. So that's the giant elephant in the room. Every single interview ever. But it's how you approach the elephant. You know, if you start sort of waving your hands and punching the elephant,
don't frighten the elephant.
Will get crazy and run off.
Exactly.
Don't. So again, it's just really thinking about in terms of it, just being respectful. I mean, think about it like this: if you owned a business and you were interviewing someone, and their first question was, what's the role paying?
Yeah.
Well, how would that make you feel? How would you feel about that?
Yeah, no, some very good questions about how to do very good questions at an interview, and of course, more wisdom and advice available at cv.co.nz. Tom, thank you so much for the work you do. Thanks for joining us once again.
Real pleasure, mate. Hey, God bless, and catch up next time.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.